So,
Monogamy versus polyamory.
yeah, so this has been something that's been of kind of a ongoing fascination with me back in the East Coast. My friends, particular friend was, in the polyamory scene. I think it was called themselves swingers. She met this friend, so she knows a little bit more about it than I do. And I've always been fascinated. What really is the calling to, being involved with multiple people at once, especially in the intimacy and the sexual domain. I always had a fascination with it. Didn't necessarily feel myself definitely called to being in a polyamorous relationship. And there certainly was no room for discussion or even exploring the idea of polyamory in my last relationship. And so that's where I kind of felt constricted, even just from the dialogue sense, being able to be honest. I met somebody that I'm attracted to. Kelly and I have already talked about this many times, is if we have this dialogue and we're honest and we're open with each other, it creates less of a pressure to go what you describe as sideways and, to do something that you'd later regret. And so just having that space and that field to open up a dialogue about these, two ways of doing a similar thing, of relating, has been very refreshing to me. And obviously I come from more of a monogamous background, serial monogamy, and I'll let you describe what you'd consider to be your relational experience yourself.
It's been kind of a windy path for me. I've never fully identified as, I guess that's not really true. In some ways I have identified as polyamorous, but that doesn't mean that within that I don't practice monogamy sometimes, as a conscious choice. So for me, my journey into it honestly comes from early heartbreak that I experienced, and there was a aspect of feeling this big love, especially for my first love, that I really wanted to explore, but we were in high school and young, and so there was this kind of, we were exploring that, but then he felt like he needed to have other experiences and try other things and learn more about who he was, which is totally valid for a 15-year-old, but at the time it was also very heartbreaking for me because I felt this really deep love for him. So there was, I think my first kind of questions around open relationships was well, can I have a kind of love that allows both for us to have the love and the partnership, but also to be able to explore and be able to learn about new parts of ourselves. And I'll admit there's also a shadow element, kind of as I got a little older and especially out of college, started meeting people who were more poly, or I would meet them and think that, they're so great and so wonderful that they could never be satisfied with just me. So it kind of came from even a lack of self-worth at the time, of okay, well, I better be cool and let them explore and be with other people so that they'll also be with me. So that took some years and some trials and tribulations to kind of work through. But I also was really drawn to the philosophy of it. I really identified with this feeling of kind of possessiveness, or I identified a feeling of possessiveness and ownership over my partner, and feeling owned and possessed by my partner, that I just felt was wrong and not in alignment with how I wanted to live on the earth and the kind of values that I wanted to live. So open relating, polyamory provided an alternative philosophy where we can love deeply and we can honor the fact that we love multiple people, and allow for us to both to expand as well as feel grounded, and really honoring that fact that we don't own our partners, we don't possess them. They are their own free agents, and they make their own decisions in their sovereignty about what's best for them. Because I also felt kind of that pain of trying to control as well as being controlled, and trying to protect myself from pain by controlling my partner, and this is maybe a topic for another another video, but I felt this really deep-seated like jealousy, and would be really afraid, especially with that first partner, it started there, of him being attracted to somebody else, and this kind of I have felt this like paranoia that he was going to be attracted to somebody else, they were going to be better than me, he was going to choose them over me. So in a way, opening up to open relating was kind of opening up to my deepest fears. So I've gotten a lot of growth out of that, and kind of grew up and healed some of those self-worth wounds that were keeping me kind of in that, like, oh, well, I'm not good enough, so I, better just be cool, otherwise the cool people won't like me, was kind of how it felt. So grown out of that and into more of the ideal of it, of not wanting to be in that game of controlling and possessing and feeling like I own or am owned, owned by my partner, that I own my partner. So there was a lot of ideals about polyamory that really spoke to me. I think also the sense of freedom, wanting myself to be free, wanting my partners to be free. But I really, wrestled with that kind of hamster wheel for several years, but it also really cracked my heart open and helped me really expand into this more expand into a more expansive understanding of love. So eloquent. Where it was like, yeah, I kind of had this fairy tale image of somebody was just going to fall in love with me, and I was going to fall in love with them, and we were going to be together forever and ever. And it's like, when that didn't work out, I could choose to either cut off the love that was still there between us. It just might not be following this model that I thought I was aspiring to. And I see a lot of people doing that. I'm not saying that that's the wrong choice, but I also could open to the love that is here and, be in a more resilient relationship that can allow for that while still allowing us to be free and live our lives. And that, again, especially made sense for me when I was in long distance relationships, was traveling, would fall in love with people that lived far away, and just didn't make sense for us to be in a monogamous relationship, but still wanted to honor the love that was there. So for me, while it's been painful, it's also been very beautiful to honor love and to follow the wisdom of love when I feel it, to be able to expand my definition and my experience of love beyond this kind of linear relationship escalator fairy tale. There's another point that I wanted to make, but I don't know. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I have quite a bit to actually contribute to what you're saying, and one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, like, having experienced the capacity to, explore in polyamory and learning what it feels like not to control people and, like, not to be controlled, do you feel now that you're, like, kind of settled in a sense of, like, okay, I'm choosing to be with this person, and we're working it out and we're exploring on a day-to-day basis, you have a better sense of, like, choice at this point?
Yeah, it makes that more of a conscious choice for me. Yeah. And it's like, in order to really have the sacred union that I want, not to say that it could never involve intimacy with other people, but that it's a conscious choice rather than following the programming. And I think when we follow the programming, then as when we take hits, or when something happens, there's a rupture, something goes wrong, the instinct can be to just, like, get out of there. Like, oh, this is wrong, let's break up this relationship, let's leave. And I think that there's something lost there. At least for me, I felt like there was something lost in that. But really choosing and from a place of sovereignty and consciousness allows me to make that choice every day, knowing that I'm the one freely choosing it, and it kind of creates less anxiety around the relationship. I think for me too, I say I'm always polyamorous, but sometimes monogamous, is that, again, it's about making that conscious choice, but it's also about acknowledging the many forms of love that I have in my life and that I experience in my life. And that's not just about the romantic dyad, although we might make the choice to be sexually exclusive, romantically exclusive, and to build something deep, again, making that conscious choice. But that doesn't exclude, and actually really, in my experience, really needs the support of other intimate loves and friendships and relationships. So if we're not getting all of our needs, and don't think that we can, because I don't think it's possible, we can't get all of our needs met from one person. Other people bring out other reflections of us, other parts of us. We learn things. We can experience other kinds of love. And I think that we need that full ecology, that ecosystem of different kinds of relationships in order to really be whole and complete and to thrive. So for me, it's part of the philosophy is just acknowledging that. So in some way, I think that we're all polyamorous because we all have, we love our parents and our children and our friends and all these different ways, even again, if we're making the conscious choice to be monogamous for a time or for our whole lives.
And I can imagine having been through these experiences and these relationships showing you, the value of choice and the value of freedom and being able to make the choice on a day-to-day basis like we do for each other. There's probably something to be said about your experiences telling you maybe for yourself how far is too far. If I'm involving myself romantically with multiple partners and multiple, sexual domains, where's my nervous system telling me, this is too much to juggle, and maybe return from there, but you've seen it. So it's like an experience that you've actually embodied versus it being inferred, complication. I would admit, for me, that kind of complication is inferred. I've never actually experienced it. I don't know how I'd react in that field. There'd be some, definitely some insecurities to get over, to see even myself with somebody else and maintain the bond that I wish to maintain with Kelly. If I were to date another woman to that intensity, how would that play out? And on the flip side, how would I react to seeing her with somebody else? For me, I come from a background, it's kind of funny as you're describing this, I have been polyamorous in a different domain, a polyamory of skill and interest. So I've been someone who's jumped from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and identified with these skill sets, and anything that I got into, whether it be archery or photography, woodworking, arm wrestling, whatever the hell it may have been, I've always taken it to 110% level. And that was partly because I was identified with those skill sets, meaning that was me. I wanted to be known as the best archer in the world, or the strongest arm wrestler, or the best slope style mountain biker doing all these crazy tricks. There's a certain element of me that wanted to identify with the skill set, and then another part of me that actually enjoyed what I was doing, but it heavily weighed on the identification. Do you think there are people that are in the polyamory community that kind of use it as a game, they want to collect numbers and love, and and that's where kind of some of the trouble and some of the bad rap that comes into the polyamory community, possibly?
It might not be the only source of the bad rap. I think that in general we live in a pretty monogamy oriented culture, and so any kind of slutting or promiscuity is
frowned
has
upon.
its own bad rap that just kind of inherently comes with it for a lot of people. But I do, there are people that are more and less conscious in both that practice monogamy and open relating and polyamory. So, I do think that there can be an aspect of for some people, kind of a free for all, or oh, I can date everybody, so I'm always, or anybody, and have multiple people, so I'm always hunting, and I'm always on the prowl, I'm always looking for the next partner, and that's a form of addiction. It comes from really seeking fulfillment from the outside that really needs to come from the inside. And that happens in monogamy too. Oh my gosh, I need you. It's all about you. If people come obsessed with each other and get into these codependent relationships, and then
that's where the control aspect comes up.
Yeah.
A lot of the control.
Jump from one thing to the next. And like, I believe love is infinite, but time is limited. Time and energy are limited. So yes, we can fall in love with every single being that we encounter, and I think that that's part of what this path really invites. And the tantric path is like really being present and embodying love in every moment, and fully experiencing like the love that's just available in our beings, that's just here from fully being present. And yes, we can like experience that with humans, and we can have all sorts of experiences of love, but when at the end of the day, our time and energy are limited. So if somebody is from a pretty unconscious place, is falling in love all the time or in lust all the time, and either making promises they can't keep or building attachments that they can't tend to, then it can get into addictive and destructive tendencies that can cause a lot of pain both for themselves and others. But I think that can happen in monogamy as well. You know?
Yeah. If I were to entertain like a label that we're in right now, I would say that we're practicing monogamy, but at the same time, spiritually and explorative polyamorous, I'd say. And just to kind of, from someone who has been monogamous their entire life and having an interest in polyamory, it kind of dawned on me the other day, actually using ChatGPT as like a self-mirroring inquiry, that part of the spiritual path and the annihilation of, or the sense of ego, actually is powerfully met in these polyamorous situations. Like when I met Kelly, she was, in her, I'd say more of a consolidation phase where she, you can correct me if I'm wrong, where you felt like the need to and the want to be with a primary partner, and she wanted to share sacred sexuality and space with somebody that she can build a life with, and she actually has tasted the complexity of the polyamorous expansion, and is actually kind of coming back into her own. So that felt good to me. But also her experience in the polyamory field also you could say flushed out some insecurities in me. I was comparing myself to her past partners kind of in a ghostly way. I've always wondered, like, am I good enough, or whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden, there's these interesting fascinations, like, what if I could withstand, seeing her with another man, even like going out, or, going to the extremes of watching her have sexual intimacy with another man. There's almost like this, it's probably been, in my experience, the most powerful annihilator of the individual self that I have met, not have yet experienced, but feel like, wow, this is kind of like a make or break, standing in the fire to become light, potential. Not that I'm saying that I am actively seeking that, but there is something to be said about letting go of your frameworks for love, and letting go of like the dogmatic approaches to spirituality and religion and how we view the world, and allowing really the mystery to work in its mysterious ways. And I would have never guessed that I would be out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a woman with her experience and my experience, and faced with these unique challenges. And in some way I'm terrified of them, but in another way I'm super grateful to have met a partner with her background. And this is just to say that it's an ongoing thing. There's really no right or wrong answer. We are either fiery, or what's the term? We're either discussing this topic in a fiery sense, or sometimes calm sense. Right now we're discussing it, in a cool down phase. Theoretical sense. But, when push comes to shove, it's like, well, yeah, this is what's happening. Can my nervous system handle it? Or is it too much? That's something that we all have to kind of feel out for ourselves. And I guess this video just kind of wanted to point to that at the end of the day. And yeah.
I wanted to say too that, yeah, Peter's right, that in kind of, especially as I've gotten older and I've really felt this kind of burning desire to parent, and that's been, coming later in my life, so there's some urgency behind it. I came to this point where I was like, yeah, I'm really like, I want my person, I want to build with them. To me, that doesn't necessarily exclude the possibility that we would have, other loves and other people that we're intimate with, but like wanted to really build a strong foundation with someone. But some people build really strong foundations and secure relationships within a polyamorous or open container. So I just wanted to kind of say that it's not the only way to build a secure foundation is not only within monogamy. It's just kind of, for me, where I would like my energy to go, and it's kind of a way of protecting my energy. I don't really feel like I'm in a seeking space of trying to find other partners and go to the hunting grounds and be on the dating apps and do all those things. And there might come a time when that changes, and I know plenty of couples who are in beautiful, long-term, committed relationships that are also open. So it's just, I think it's really about just knowing that there are options out there. We don't have to follow a certain script for love in our relationships, and the more that we can really be present and true with what is authentic for us in any one moment or any phase in our life, we can make those conscious choices, and create resilient relationships that can grow with us as we mature and change and transform.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, being introduced into this, different way of loving and has, really allowed me to face the fears, not walk away or run away from them. It's like if you're fearing something, it's like if you're in a crowd and you have something to say and you get butterflies, it's probably a good sign that you should say something. You have something to contribute to the greater field of consciousness. In the same way, if you're feeling a fear, it's a good sign to look at that fear and see if it's something that you can work on, if you can see something from a different point of view. Listening to Kelly even project the possibility of us having new loves in the future brings up a certain intensity within myself that may be a little bit insecure, but I didn't panic and just sit here and kind of feel it out. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything in particular. So I have a choice. I can run away from that invitation to expand, or I can, as you said, have to work on everything that's presented to you. It's kind of like you got to regulate your own nervous system and know what's where you stand. And saying that, this is a good opportunity. If any of this resonates with you and you feel as though you want to dive deeper into these conversations, Kelly and I are offering coaching space, either with both of us or with me in particular. Kelly has a lot of experience in the coaching field with helping with intimacy and relationships. She's been doing it for a number of years and is very good at it. There is a link down below with a scheduling calendar. We'll go directly to Kelly's inbox, letting you know that you made an appointment for a discovery call, and we'd love to talk with you about what you need and what you're feeling.
Yeah, we'd love to meet you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. You have a good one. Talk to you soon.